Hey there, today is Monday, September 8th. It is 2:45 p.m. and the temperature is about 17 degrees Celsius, and it's a little bit on the cool and breezy side, and I'm here at Bedford Road and Bloor Street West. And that's a look to the west through the Annex neighborhood. And just across the street here is Varsity Stadium, home to the University of Toronto's Varsity Blues sports teams, or at least some of them. And just north of here is the easternmost entrance to St. George subway station on line 2. But for this one, I'll be taking a walk around the University of Toronto St. George campus, or at least part of the campus. So we're going to head over to Philosopher's Walk. And I'll make my way south into the campus, but here's a look at Varsity Stadium. The original incarnation of Varsity Stadium, if I'm not mistaken, was built over 100 years ago. This newer version, which is much smaller, I think, opened in 2007. And it's obviously home to football and soccer. And it's right next to the old Varsity Arena. Fun fact, in the 90s, I saw Beck perform at Varsity Arena. But they've held Grey Cups at Varsity Stadium. John Lennon once played there. At least the old version of the stadium. And I think school's been in session for about a week. I usually try to record some of the campuses early on in the fall semester. And just up ahead is the Royal Ontario Museum, but we'll be turning right before we get that far. And this is Philosopher's Walk. We'll just take a quick view of the ROM. And the north entrance to the ROM is closed, as they're renovating things on this side. But Philosopher's Walk here is a scenic footpath that'll take us down to Hoskin Avenue. This is the largest and most attended university, and probably the most well-known in the entire country. I think spread out over the 3 different campuses, there's over 100,000 students attending. And this follows the route of the old Tattle Creek stream that was buried in the late 1800s. And towards the end of the walk, we'll be finishing up in a new part of the campus, or newly landscaped part of the campus. I think it's pronounced Zepung. I apologize if I mispronounce that. Apparently the Tattle Creek used to run through that part of the campus as well. But U of T itself was founded back in 1827. It was originally known as King's College. I think about 30% of the student body is international. And we'll get a better view of this in a moment, but I think this is the nicest building on campus, and one of my favorite in the whole city. That's Trinity College. There's some information about Tattle Creek. And just to the left here at Hoskin is Queen's Park, where the Provincial Legislative Assembly is, as well as a large public park. That is actually University of Toronto land it sits on. But it's been leased back to the province for the low cost of $1, although given that universities are creatures of the province. I don't think that deal will be ripped up anytime soon. It'll probably just be renewed forever, but there's a look towards Queen's Park. We're going to head straight over to St. George Street, which according to that is in 0.4 kilometers. There's Trinity College. That was founded back in 1851 by Bishop John Strawn, and it used to be located at Trinity Bellwoods Park. I think it dates back to 1852 or so, but it was relocated to this campus in 1925, and they did a fantastic job when they built it. It's an absolutely stunning building. There's some athletic fields to the left, as well as Soldiers Tower. This is a very accessible by transit campus. You could arrive via Line 2 at St. George Station or Line 1 there. And you could say the same about Spadina Station. There's also Museum and Queen's Park Station on Line 1 nearby, as well as the Spadina streetcar on the west end of the campus and the College streetcar, or I guess the 506 Carlton on the south end. And this street here will lead us up to Bloor, near where I started this walk. But U of T is notable for being the site of insulin discovery back in the early 1920s. I think modern stem cell research was also founded here, as well as the external cardiac pacemaker. And in 1983, the first ever successful lung transplant was also a University of Toronto innovation. It's also known for having several deep learning breakthroughs. So it's been quite an influential school. And straight ahead is probably its most polarizing building. That is the brutalist Robarts Library. As we get to St. George Street, bustling with campus life. I want to go south here, but I'm not going to make the light cycle.
Oh, this here.
I saw him send the text. He was like, "Oh, Devin's waiting around the way." I was like, "Oh."
Robarts Library here opened back in 1973, and it's one of several examples of brutalist architecture in the city. And where I went to school, York University had its fair share of brutalism as well. And just north of Bloor Street here, you'll find the western entrance to St. George Station. And St. George Street is known for being lined with food trucks. And on the west side of that intersection there, Hoskin becomes Harvard Street. There's another look at the library. I'm probably going to come back and do a walk down St. George Street and Beverly Street at some point. So we're not going to spend too much time on St. George.
walk uphill or something.
There is Whitney Hall on the left. Yeah, let's go through here. And this dates back to the 1930s. From a bustling St. George Street to a very quiet courtyard here. I think these are actually residences. You'd be quite lucky to be living here if you're a student. This athletic field is being prepped for action. You get a pretty sweeping view of the Yonge Street high-rise corridor. There is One Bloor West rising in the center of the shot. This doesn't seem to be the higher quality field turf they're using. I think there's another residence called the Sir Daniel residence just south of here. Let's see if I can cut through that and go back to St. George Street. Again, this is such a big campus. We're only going to be seeing a small slice of it.
And my coworkers are like, why do you care?
And just straight ahead is kind of the main courtyard of the campus. We'll be circling back to that spot in a few minutes. But this will lead us back to St. George Street.
I'm genuinely serious. Like, I mean, this is like a god.
And I didn't even apply to go to this school. I applied to Ryerson, as it was known at the time, and York in the city, and Guelph and Waterloo and a few other schools, and I got into everything. But I opted to go to York.
No, I'm going to say. Yeah, I'm going this way. Take care.
Oh, there's a new building going up there.
I don't even know if he's a bad or good professor because
Apparently, Canadian institutions have been attracting some highly sought after American professors. A rare instance of what you could call a reverse brain drain. I think this is what I wanted to walk through. Oh well. I think I read the Monk School of International Affairs. I had quartered a few highly regarded professors from the States. The McDonald Mullet House.
Yeah, like let's keep it show up.
There was nice. You went into it.
So I will make a left at College Street. And we'll head over to the very well-known King's College Circle. That's Knox College on the left.
I beat it, whatever these.
Kind of wonder what kind of future these kids are heading into. It's a weird world in 2025. Employment is way down on both sides of the border, especially in the US. They're getting hammered. But companies are still posting record profits and earnings. And the markets are still surging. That could be an indicator that the AI revolution is in full swing, or at least gearing up. Less manpower is needed. That might even bring into question the role of these kinds of institutions in the future. Well, that's a bit too heavy of a topic for me to be discussing. Not that I'm even remotely qualified to, but those are the thoughts that run through my head when I go through a campus like this. In 20 years from now, will this be a dinosaur or a relic of the past?
In my exam, where I had a misprint, so I asked him like just like that. I write my answer in terms of like a random thing. I was like,
And my mom was like, no one plays Gaza? And he goes, yeah.
There's been a number of notable movies and TV shows filmed here. And it often plays a stand-in in movies as an Ivy League school. And you might see why that is when we head up King's College. Well, we've made it pretty much to the southern border of the campus, although there are a few buildings on the south side of College Street here. What's worth noting, St. George Street becomes Beverly Street. just on the south side. There's the CN Tower looming in the distance. And Chinatown is just off in that direction. What is that?
Which I know is not possible because if I had a rip too, I think if you had a rip that wouldn't like cause the pressure with that like
Something have a license plate? I wonder if that's a campus maintenance vehicle.
black diamond. I just always use the word. Well, I do like touch.
No way.
There's a sad sight. A number of businesses that serve the campus
And what kind of
are closed up due to a redevelopment. And with bike lanes running along College to the south and Bloor to the north, as well as through the campus, it's quite easily bikeable. And I imagine a number of students use bike shares to come to and fro the school, or they just ride their own. Here we go, King's College Circle. So I could keep going straight here, and that'll take us to Queen's Park and Queen's Park Station. But they recently completed the landmark project straight ahead, where they buried a lot of the parking underneath. And I mentioned earlier that Trinity Bellwoods might be the most beautiful and well-known building here. Well, it might also be King's College straight ahead. That's probably the most photographed building. Convocation Hall is just on the left here. That's been the scene of many graduations. Looks like some kind of guided tour. That dates back to 1907. And this is about as grand and beautiful as university campuses get. Got this big area in the middle here. Again, there's parking underneath. '60s brutalism mixed in with these much nicer older buildings. And you can head down into the parking through there. That new area I referred to, Zepung, should be coming up on the right pretty soon. And I think they almost graded this in such a way to discourage playing sports here. It's not super level, it's more of a hangout kind of place. There's people playing frisbee. I don't think they want organized soccer or anything happening on this infield. There's the Gerstein Science Information Center.
Hold on. No, say that louder. Say I'm screaming out.
I will see you next Sunday then? Yeah. I can do. Okay,
Mine are, but that is so stupid. I'm actually a
Oh, so they get like infinite bump.
Yeah, they're good. More gadgets. They even hit the good. They're like off the spot. Yeah, imagine you have that.
There's a closer view of King's College. There are historical plaques in front of most of these buildings. If you ever tour the campus and want some more info. There's the CN Tower.
They compare an issue.
Even if they say no.
He's my alter ego.
Okay, the branding.
Guess that umbrella is pulling parasol duties. There's Soldiers Tower, completed back in 1924, right next to the Hart House. That serves as a war memorial. It's a rather iconic structure. I think it's been 143 feet tall. We're going to head off through this new area. In this newly landscaped area. I think it's pronounced Zepung. As we get a glimpse of the Hart House to the left. So apparently we are here. And this was an Indigenous-led landscape project, and the name means at the river. It honors the history of the Tattle Creek Ravine and Indigenous stewardship. And part of the project is to link the Hart House Circle to Queen's Park. Well, there's the Hart House. There's the Provincial Legislative Assembly. And there's a small section of U of T just east of here, on the other side of Queen's Park, known as Victoria College. I think this is a good place to end this one, so I hope you enjoyed this one. Walking around the University of Toronto St. George campus, or at least part of it, as the fall semester gets underway. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below. If you wish to support what I do, there's links to my Patreon and YouTube channel membership down in the description. I've got an Instagram account at Johnny Strides, and there is a super thanks button appearing down below, should you wish to say thanks that way. I guess I didn't time this very well. We'll get to this statue of King Edward, or King Henry, one of them. There you go. I was going to stand there and sign off, but those dudes wandered up. And And there's an entrance to Museum Station just in the direction I'm looking at in this park, just for your information. But anyways, thank you so much for watching, guys. Yoink.